Hello and welcome, this is Piers Morgan and you're watching my show What If the Western Media Showed the Palestinians as the Israelis and vice versa. Alright, let's get started, shall we? Now before I begin, I would like to preface that on this show we're not necessarily condemning or condoning what Hamas or the Israeli occupation forces have done. Our main objective here is to show what if the Western media treated the Palestinians as Israelis and the Israelis as Palestinians, and we just want to see how they would play out. Alright, let's get started. Today my guests are Abu Abdullah, who is a spokesperson for the Hamas Defense Forces, and Rak Megev, who is not a spokesperson for the terrorist militant group known as Israeli Occupation Forces, aka IDF, which is banned in the West, but he does represent the illegal Israeli occupiers. So on October 7th, as we know, the Hamas Defense Forces went into Israel, which is from Gaza to Israel, which was blockaded, illegally blockaded, still illegally blockaded, and they carried out an operation where they killed 150 of these Israeli occupation militants, and they captured some of their generals and some of their occupation sympathizers, okay? And unfortunately, some of the civilians got caught in the crossfire and unfortunately died when this operation was carried out by Hamas Defense Forces. Now, for the past 75 years, we've seen a brutal and terrible occupation by the Israeli occupation forces of Palestinian lands, not only in Gaza, which is illegally blockaded by Israeli occupation forces, but also in the West Bank, where Israel continues to build and confiscate Palestinian lands. They kidnap their children constantly, they bomb their mosques, their schools, and then on top of that, they confiscate their land and they put in Israeli Zionist settlers into those lands, and they give them arm them with guns, and on top of that, they give them the Israeli, and they get protection by the Israeli occupation forces. And this has been going on for the past 75 years, and they constantly bomb Gaza, right? So Hamas, and not only Hamas, but Palestinians have the right to defend themselves. So when they did this operation, Israel, on top of that, in response, goes out and bombs Gaza again, decimates the civilian populations. I mean, I personally, and it's out there for anyone to see on social media and everywhere, they have Palestinian children. You can see their heads blown off by the Israeli occupation forces. Their mothers, women, children, at least 4,200 civilians have died in Gaza in the past 2 weeks, and 1,500 children, I say, Palestinian children have been killed by the Israeli occupation forces. So Rak Megev, do you condemn these terrorist killings by the Israeli occupation forces in Gaza? And not only that, do you also condemn the illegal occupation of Palestine?
I really do not like the characterization of the IDF, which is like defense forces, not occupation forces. They were defending themselves against Hamas, okay?
No. The IOF, the Israeli Occupation Forces, are a terrorist organization. There's no two ways about it, because in the past 75 years, it continuously illegally confiscate Palestinian lands. They brutalize them, they punish them, they destroy their schools, their houses, and their religious places, their shops, their bakeries. I mean, this has been going on. This is corroborated evidence out there for everyone to see. Even Amnesty International calls the state of Israel as an apartheid state, and the occupation forces continuously work in that. So this is definitely a terrorist organization. And not only that, the Israeli occupation forces, they continuously kidnap Palestinian children and use them as bargaining chips to get their parents, and they use these children as human shields. There are videos out there. I mean, it's corroborated evidence. Israeli occupation forces are a terrorist organization. Do you condemn the Israeli occupation forces, what they're doing in Gaza and what they've been doing for the past 75 years? Do you condemn it, Rak Megev?
Why condemn them? The Hamas is like ISIS. They behead 40 Israeli babies.
No, that's not true. Even the Israeli occupation forces have denied that claim that Hamas beheaded 40 Israeli babies. I mean, there is no evidence. And so to support that, in fact, back in 2022, when Israeli occupation forces, they assassinated American reporter Shireen Abu Akleh in broad daylight, in cold blood. And then Israelis then blamed Palestinians, Hamas, for it, and then they blamed Palestinians for it. And then after pressure from the Americans, they took that back and said, yes, it was Israel who assassinated her. I mean, talk about gaslighting your victims. I mean, it's insane. And not only that, you guys try to paint Hamas and ISIS as the same. It's not true. You see, ISIS was practicing a very fanatical, enraged, crazy version of Islam, which all the Islamic mainstream organizations condemned, right? And ISIS would brutalize this population, but they would not destroy schools or hospitals. See, which where in Israel does destroy hospitals and schools and bombards and kills children, and only that, they practice this fanatical, enraged version of Judaism called Zionism, and they enforce this on the Palestinians that they brutally occupy for the past 75 years. So you can't paint Hamas as ISIS. It is more like Israel, Zionism, and IOF that are more like ISIS. In fact, they're worse than ISIS.
Hamas wants to exterminate Israel. It wants to push Israel into the sea. It is in their charter. Hamas wants to exterminate Israel.
Now, Piers, if you just let me interject here, it's funny that the Israeli occupation forces continue to say that Hamas wants to destroy and exterminate Israel. They never talk about back in the 1980s, Israel was the one who founded and funded Hamas. Well, knowingly well, they knew that in their charter, Hamas was to exterminate Israel. It's evident to see that was in the original charter. They founded and funded it. And why? Because you know why? It's easier to divide and conquer. The Palestinian resistance at the time included secularist parties and leftist social parties, the PLO, Yasser Arafat. To counterweight this, they founded and funded Hamas. Right? They did this. This is knowingly reported by the Israeli general at the time. So, they never talk about that. Secondly, now when Hamas won the elections in 2006, they were supposed to get both Gaza and the West Bank. But the Israelis and Americans did not like that, so they tried to thwart and overthrow this election. They couldn't, so Hamas ended up taking just Gaza, and Fatah maintained their control in West Bank. In any case, in 2006 when this election happened, the Palestinian Hamas leader Khalid Mishal said that a comment on the statement of Israel being exterminated is no longer relevant. In fact, in 2017, Hamas revised their charter and got rid of that, and they just say now that they are okay with the two-state solution. Hamas does not want to exterminate Israel. They want the same 1967 borders, the two-state solution they've been talking for a long time. So this notion that Hamas wants to exterminate Israel is no longer relevant and no longer true. They just love to purport that. So, thirdly, is a more important question. The Israeli Zionist militants, they always say that Hamas wants to exterminate Israel. I've proven that that's no longer true. Hamas does not want to exterminate Israel. It's in their charter. They want to go back to this two-state solution. But they don't want to talk about that. In any case, my question is, who is actually exterminating who? Is it the Palestinians that take over Israeli lands? First of all, it belongs to the Palestinians, but do they go in and take Israeli land? They put them in an open-air prison, illegally blockade them from water, from electricity, from medicine, from food, blockade their airspace, their land, and the water. Do they do that? No. It's the Israeli occupying forces that do this in Gaza. It's evident for the world to see. They bomb their hospitals. The Israelis bomb the hospitals of Palestinians, their schools, the UN sheltering agencies, their houses. They drive them out of their houses. Tell them to go to Egypt, go further south, so that they can get rid of them. Who is exterminating who is clearly evident to see. I mean, they're trying for a second Nakba, the second displacement. They want this, and they'll try their best not to stop. And so I'm telling you, who is exterminating who? Seriously, Israel is exterminating Palestinians from Gaza. They want them to go into Egypt or just kill them. Hamas operates in public buildings and hospital, and the base. They have Hamas base in school, in hospital, in Gaza. So Israel has no choice but they give warning to Palestinian civilians to get out of so that for their safety. The defense force care about safety of Palestinians, so they get out. And then it's the fault of the Palestinian civilians too. I want you to know that. You know why? Because they voted for Hamas. Hamas don't care about its population, so they deserve this. Israel has no choice but to defend itself. It has to defend itself. So sorry. These are very illogical talking points done by the Zionist military occupation. They always say this. These can be easily debunked. Number one, more than half the population in Gaza are children. So did they really even vote for Hamas? That is just absurd, right? Secondly, Israel, if they wanted to, and they've done in the past, and they've done in Iran too, they have destroyed top Iranian nuclear scientists in Iran with pinpoint accuracy. Did they destroy their hospitals? Did they destroy their schools? Did they destroy their shops, their houses? No, they just destroyed the car. The top Iranian nuclear scientists and their generals were, without any of these populations being destroyed. Right? So they can do this, and they've done this in Gaza as well. They've killed Hamas leaders with accuracy. They've assassinated them. Their leaders, it's evident for the world to see. They can just Google it. They've done it. But no, they like to bomb the civilians too. This is their modus operandi. This is all this. And the idea that the idea that the Palestinians voted for their own destruction by voting in for Hamas. That's absurd. They say, I could reverse that for the Israelis too. I could say Israeli citizens destroyed themselves by voting for and keeping in power the Zionist occupation apartheid state. They voted for them to take over Palestinian lands illegally and to put their settler colonists there. They armed these settler colonists, the Israeli settler colonists, and they also give protection by the Israeli occupation forces, right? So, and then after doing this for 75 years and illegally blockading Gaza, not giving them food, not giving electricity, not giving fuel, taking occupying their land, sea, and air, brutally occupying as well, trying to say. Then these Israeli citizens, when Hamas has the right to defend itself, not only Hamas, Palestinians have the right to defend themselves. If they come and defend themselves against the illegal occupiers, these Israelis are like, how did this happen? This is awful. They're coming and fighting for their land. This is absurd. And, really, it was the Israelis who voted for this. So it's the Israelis' fault, not the Palestinians. They voted for this brutal occupying regime. So when the Palestinians that are so brutally oppressed and occupied and no longer living in human dignity, they come back and fight. And they have the right to self-defense. They have the right to resist, be it through Hamas or whatever. When they do that, the Israelis are like, how did this happen? Why are they fighting back from our brutal occupation? This is absurd. It was the Israelis' fault. That was their fault that they voted for this horrible occupation. And when they see the blowback, the side effect of all this, they're like, how did this happen? It was your fault. See, Israel is an illegal apartheid state. This is not only said by many people, by Human Rights Watch, and also by Amnesty International. They said this. And what does Israel do? They kick these organizations out. Israel is just an expert at gaslighting the victims, right? They orchestrate this brutal occupation for the past 75 years, bomb them continuously, try to get them out of their land, ethnically cleanse them, and then when put to account, they're like, oh, no. It was the victims themselves, the Palestinians themselves, that orchestrated this. No, it was Israel. They are the perpetrators, and the victims are Palestinians that are fighting back. It's absurd. It's plain for the world to see. It's because the Amnesty International, they're anti-Semitic. No, that's not true. You see, legitimate criticism of any country is acceptable, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, whatever you have. See, whenever the Israeli occupation forces are cornered with about any kind of legitimate criticism, for example, apartheid, occupation, mistreatment and abuse of Palestinians, they always cower and jump to the anti-Semitic brush. I mean, you try to paint everybody criticizing Israel as anti-Semitic, and that's not true. There's even many generals, Israeli generals, and their children, and the Holocaust survivors who criticize Israel, and they knowingly know that Israel is committing atrocities and genocide and war crimes and occupation under its name. So no, I'm not going to take that. That kind of criticism, painting everybody as anti-Semitic, is unacceptable, and I will not take it on my show. No. Okay, I have one final question for both of you. How do we get to peace? Rock Migev, I'll let you answer first.
Hamas needs to disarm. Hamas needs to stop the terrorism. Hamas needs to stop targeting civilians. Hamas bad. Palestinians are like children of darkness. Israel children of light. Hamas needs to be flat. Gaza needs to be flattened. Kick the Palestinians out. Do second Nakba. Get them exterminated. Get them out. And West Bank, we're coming for you too, huh? So we are going to win. You animals, Palestinian animals, get out.
Oh my God! Did you just say that out loud? Did you say that out loud? What you were thinking inside? Did you use your inside voice, but you use it out?
Said what?
The Palestinians are animals. They're children of darkness. They should be flattened. They should be exterminated, expelled out of a second Nakba coming. You just said all of that.
No, I didn't. Yes, you did. I did not say it. I never said that. You're lying. Abu Abdullah said it. I never said something like that.
No. He didn't even answer yet. What are you even talking about?
I bet you top dollar that President Joe Biden or any American president and the Pentagon and Defense Department, they're going to corroborate what I said. They're going to corroborate. I did not say it. That it was the other team, the team of animals, the team of darkness. They said it. I did not say it.
There you go again.
You listen to me. Hamas want extinction of Israel. Wipe Israel off the map. I'm going to write to your producer, huh? What you're doing right now. You treat me like this? Leave this note for you. Goodbye.
Okay, he's leaving the studio now. Fascinating. So, Abu Abdullah, how do you think we can get to peace? Well, Mias, the answer is quite simple, really. End the brutal, illegal, apartheid Israeli occupation of Palestinian lands that has been raging on for the past 75 years. And that should take care of, if not all, the problems in Gaza, in Palestine, West Bank, and Israel. That will take care of it. And I know if that doesn't work, we can go to the 1967 borders established by the UN, the two-state solution, which the Israeli leaders have abandoned on purpose. So I can do one better. Let's make it one country, right? And then give every person equal vote, equal access to vote, equal human rights. No human living in that land is better or worse than the other person, right? Equal rights to vote, equal access to vote, equal human rights for all Israelis, Palestinians, Jews, Christians, Muslims, everybody. Everybody gets, whatever have you, religion, whatever. Everybody gets that vote, and we'll have an election. We in England and in America, we always promote and champion real democracy in the Middle East. This is the prime example to do it right here, right now. And watch our leaders try to back away from it, because they know what will happen. What will happen is, when the election happens, the illegal apartheid regime of Israel, the occupying regime, will fall. Just like as it did in apartheid South Africa, same will happen here as well. And then we can take to task these Israeli occupation leaders, take them to the World Court, prosecute them for war crimes, and all the American generals and presidents and the British prime ministers that supported this apartheid regime should also be taken to task for their complicitness in the war crimes in Palestine. Very good. Thank you, Abu Abdullah. Thank you for coming. I wish Ra could have stayed. Oh, look, he left that note for us. Oh dear God. What is it? What does it say? This is a notice to evacuate the premises in the next 60 seconds. This is all your fault. Stop supporting terrorists. Israel has a right to defend itself. We warned you. Good luck trying to prove it was us. Oh dear God.